Today in this presentation, we are going to be covering how to summarize a story. You might be wondering, what does it mean to summarize? When you summarize a story, you are retelling the story in your own words. The goal of this is to be able to explain the story well enough to someone who has not read it that they understand exactly what happened in the story. Now that we know what a summary is, what do we even put in our summary when we're giving one? When you give a summary, you want to tell all of the important information about the story and make sure you always include the main idea. Some possible things to talk about are the characters, what happened to the characters, the feelings of the characters, anything that's relating around to the characters, the problems, or the ending of the story. There are lots of ways to summarize a story, but in this presentation, we are going to be talking about the 5-finger strategy in order for us to summarize different stories. Now you might be wondering, what exactly is the 5-finger strategy? The 5-finger strategy is when you look at the somebody, wanted, but, so, and then of the story. Throughout the rest of this presentation, we are going to be covering what each of those 5 components mean and how you use them to help you summarize the story. The somebody of the 5-finger strategy is asking, who is the main character? For this, it can be an animal, a person, or even an object, such as one of your parents, a plant that you really want to write about, or it could even be written about your dog. There are many other examples, but those are just a few to get your mind thinking. The wanted of the 5-finger strategy is simply, what did the main character want? This is usually their feelings or their desires or things that they actually want to do in the story. For example, they could maybe want to go buy ice cream. They could want to go watch a movie with their friends. They maybe want to go get a dog. Those are just some examples of what the main character could possibly want in a story. The but of the 5-finger strategy is simply, what was the problem, or what prevented the character from getting what they wanted. So if we go back to our last example of the main character wanting to get ice cream, the problem in that could be maybe the ice cream shop was closed, so they weren't able to get their ice cream. The so of the 5-finger strategy is, what did the main character do to solve the problem? So if we continue on with our ice cream example, so the character wanted to get ice cream, but the ice cream shop was closed, so what the main character does is try to find another ice cream shop that is open. The then component of the 5-finger strategy is simply, how did the story end? Kind of like your wrap-up to explain everything that happened. So if we continue with our ice cream example, the problem was that they couldn't get ice cream, so they tried to find another ice cream shop, but the possible solution, or how did the story end, could be the character decided that they would go get ice cream the following day. I just gave you a strategy to use when you're summarizing a story, so remember to always use the 5-finger strategy. The somebody, who is the main character, wanted, what did they want? But what was the problem? So what did they do to solve the problem? And then how was the problem finally solved, or how did the story end? I want you to go practice with the passage that I will read aloud to you. I'm going to have a worksheet with the 5-finger strategy questions listed on it, and you may hand me in that paper when you are completed with it. I am going to read the following story aloud, and as I'm reading, I would like you to fill in the 5-finger strategy worksheet that I have provided you, and you will hand that in when you are completed. Now let's start reading. Fitting in. When Nick moved to a new school in the middle of the year, he was afraid he would not fit in. Nick could not walk on his own. Instead, he used a wheelchair. The night before school, Nick told his dad he did not want to go. I know it will be hard at first, said Nick's dad. The kids will like you when they get to know you. Dad was right. It was hard for Nick at first. His new classmates looked away from Nick whenever he tried to talk to them. They probably weren't used to a classmate in a wheelchair. One day, Nick heard about the computer club. He couldn't wait to join. Nick was really good at figuring out computer problems. When Nick rolled into the first computer club meeting, he saw some kids from his class. After a while, the kids felt more comfortable with Nick, and they no longer looked away from him. One day, Nick and Ryan were working together at the computer. Can you come over to my house on Saturday? We could watch a movie or something, said Ryan. I think so. Let me ask my dad, answered Nick. Nick and Ryan got together on Saturday. After they watched a movie, Nick asked if he could see Ryan's computer. "Sure," said Ryan, "but it's not working right. My dad said he'd drop it off at the repair shop tomorrow." Nick turned on the computer and fiddled with it for a few minutes. Then he said, "All set." "All right," said Ryan.